All right, good morning, everybody. We're gonna start today off a little bit differently than we normally do, so why don't you get on up and sing along, because I bet you know the words. If I had $1 million, if I had $1 million, I'd buy you a house. I would buy you a house. And if I had $1 million, if I had $1 million, I'd buy you furniture for your house. Maybe a nice Chesterfield or an ottoman. If I had $1 million. If I had $1 million, I'd buy your love. And if I had $1 million, I'd put a tree fort in our yard. If I had $1 million, you could help, it wouldn't be that hard. If I had $1 million, maybe we could put a little tiny fridge in there somewhere. If I had $1 million, if I had $1 million, well, I'd buy you a fur coat, but not a real fur coat, that's cruel. If I had $1 million, if I had $1 million, well, I'd buy you an exotic pet, yup, like a llama or an emu. And if I had $1 million, well, I'd buy you John Merrick's remains. Ooh, all them crazy elfin bones. If I had $1 million, I'd buy your love. If I had $1 million, we wouldn't have to walk to the store. If I had $1 million, we'd take a limousine 'cause it costs more. If If I had $1 million, if I had $1 million, well, I'd buy you a green dress, but not a real green dress, that's cruel. If I had $1 million, if I had $1 million, well, I'd buy you some art, a Picasso or a Garfunkel. If I had $1 million, well, I'd buy you a monkey. You don't have to, we have Jeremy. If I had $1 million, I'd buy your love. If I had $1 million, 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 if I $1 million, I'd be rich.
Alrighty. What a way to start the church service. Grab a seat if you're watching online at home. It is church. We thought I'd have a little fun today. We're actually starting a brand new series. We're talking about finances, so we thought we'd kick things off with a song about money. But we also believe in having fun around here. We believe it is not a sin to have some fun. In fact, it's one of our values that we are unapologetically fun, and we believe it's okay to have fun in church, and we thought we'd kind of kick it off with that. We're so glad you're here. If you're new with us, my name is Chris. I'm not Jeremy. Jeremy's over there, and we'll introduce him another time. But we're just so glad you are here. If you're watching online at home, a gigantic welcome to you. If you're watching online at home, we'd love to get to know you. Make sure you go to our website, bridgechurches.ca. Hit the New Here button. We'd love to get to know you and reach out. If you're here live and in person with us, a gigantic welcome to you as well. And if you are newer with us, we'd love for you to go out and see the New Here kiosk we have out in the foyer. It's an opportunity to say hello. We'd love to say hello to you, and we'd love to give you a gift as well. Just it's our thank you for being here and spending an hour of your day with us. We've got a few more things to kick off, a few more songs to kick off the service today. So I'm going to stand back up and sing along with our band. The words will be up on the screen.
Nations bow, mountains shake at the sound of just one name. Over all, Jesus reigns. I know. Nations bow, mountains shake at the sound of just one name. Over all, Jesus reigns. I know. Hey, there is a King of glory. There is a God who saves, one who is strong and mighty. Freedom is in his name. Open the gates of heaven. Lift up a shout of praise. There is a lion roaring. Jesus, the King of glory. Lord, there is a lion roaring. Jesus, the King of glory. So our next song is one that is relatively new, but I want to start off with this verse. Oh Lord, how many are my foes? Many are rising against me. Many are saying to me, there is no help for you in God. But you, O Lord, are a shield around me, and my glory, and the one who lifts up my head. I cry aloud to the Lord, and he answers me from his holy hill. I lie down and sleep. I wake again, for the Lord sustains me. So let us worship God, our light and salvation. Teach us, Lord, your ways, and make straight our paths in this hour of worship. You go before I know that you've even gone to win my war. You come back with the head of my enemy. You come back and you call it my victory. Yeah. You go before I know that you've even gone to win my war. Your love becomes my greatest defense. It leads me from the dry wilderness, and all I did was pray. All I did was worship. All I did was bow down, and all I did was stay still. Yeah, yeah, and hallelujah, you have saved me. You're so much better. You know before I do where my heart can see to find your truth. Your mercy is the shade I'm living in, and you restore my faith and hope again. And all I did was pray. Did was worship, and all I did was bow down, and all I did was stay still. Yeah, yeah, Lord, hallelujah, you have saved me. You're so much better. Picked up all my pieces, put me back together. You are the defender of my heart. When I thought I lost me, you knew where promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never failed me yet. I know the night won't last. Your word will come to pass. My heart will sing your praise again. Jesus, you're still enough. Keep me within your love. My heart will sing your praise again. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never failed me yet. I've seen you move the mountains, and I believe I'll see you do it again. You made a way when there was no way, and I believe I'll see you do it again. I've seen you move the mountains, and I believe I'll see you do it again. You made a way when there was no way, and I believe I'll see you do it again. I'll see you do it again. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never failed me yet.
Amen. Why don't you go ahead and grab a seat? Yeah, give it up for the band. You guys do a great job. We've got something coming up that I want to make sure you know about. Specifically, if you've got kids or no kids in grade 5 and under, we want to make sure you know about this event coming up. And it is our kids summer camp, our Bridge Kids summer camp. Huge thing going on around here. If you have been a part of it, you know how big a deal it is. We transform this place so much so it's hard to get it set up for church the next week. But we just go all out. It is in the hallways. It is all over this church. We got things in the field. It is an amazing event that we have going on. We have a lesson time. We have crafts. We have snacks. We have games. We have all sorts of wonderful things that your kids will want to be a part of. So if you've got kids grade 5 and under, I believe it is, make sure you sign them up for that. If you've got some neighbors that might be interested, sign them up. I know when you go outside, summer seems a long way away, but if you can believe it, camps are filling up like crazy, and we want to make sure this is on your schedule for this summer. My kids are stoked. They cannot wait to be here. If you're in the Ottawa area, make sure you sign up. We'd love to have you part of it. We have enough spots for 200 kids, and if you can believe it, we get it in this auditorium, and that's a lot of kids in here. And we have a lot of fun when they come in. They're celebrating and worshiping God and get all set up for the day. It is just an amazing event. And it is a highlight. We have people literally calling us months before now, basically going, when are you signing up? When's the registration? When can I open up and sign my kids up for this thing, because they just love it so much. And I just want to say, it's open. So make sure you register. Some of you aren't even listening to me. You're on it already. But it is something you want to be a part of. I got a thumbs up over there. Awesome. It is so much fun. And trust me, your kids will want to be a part of it. It's one of the highlights around here. And my kids absolutely love it. And your kids will too. And I'm just so thankful that we are able to offer this, and I've mentioned this before, but we are able to offer this at shockingly low prices. And the reason we're able to do that is because we subsidize a great deal of it as a church. If you've signed your kid up for anything, it is insane, the price of camps. I mean, like, it is $300, $400, $500 for like a week's worth of camp. For each kid, we are offering this half days, and we are offering it for $60. And I think there's even a deal if you have 3 kids or more. I don't know what that is, but they get a deal on it if it's more than three kids or more. But $60 for half day all week. It is an amazing time, and we are able to do that because of your generosity. Because you give week after week after week, we're able to do things like this. And that's why we have people sign their kids up. They're like, I don't even care what you teach. I don't care if I believe it. Just take my kids. $60 for a week. Like, can I wait in the parking lot now? Like, I'm good. They're so excited, and I hope you guys are too. And I just want to thank you guys so much for your generosity and enabling us to do things like this and be able to do it so well for such a, I don't want to say affordable price, at such a cheap price, but it happens because of your generosity, because you believe in what we are doing around here, and we are building unbelievable bridges week after week after week, but especially during that week, it is just insane to even stop by and see what's going on. And we are building bridges with people and kids and their families because of your generosity and because we're able to do what we do. So thank you so much. If you want to give to the bridge and support what we're doing, including this kids camp, we'd love for you to do that. You can go to bridgechurches.ca/give, or of course you can hit up the kiosk in the lobby. And we're just so thankful for your generosity because we are able to do something like this. Well, as I mentioned, we've got a brand new series starting right now. Check it out.
Well, it's great to be with you. If you haven't been joining us for the first time today, we've never met in person. My name is Scott. It's a joy to welcome you. And for those of you that are joining us from home, we're so glad that you're with us as well from wherever you are. And if you don't know me, if we've never met in person, I have an incredible wife. Her name is Lisa. And the other day, Lisa and I were doing what married couples do. We were sipping coffee and looking at our phones. And it was a real romantic afternoon. We were just kind of hanging out together, and we're just kind of minding our own business, looking at our phones, scrolling through nonsense, when all of a sudden Lisa perked up and she said, I just love Candace Cameron. And now, I might be dating myself a little bit, but I'm sitting there going, Candace Cameron? I don't know what Candace. And then I started thinking, is she talking about that kid actor from like Full House? Like, did anybody remember that show, Full House? Full House? Yeah, I was thinking, that's a throwback reference if I've ever heard one. And Lisa goes, oh yeah, she's awesome. She's a Christian. Did you know that? I'm like, no, I didn't know that. I don't know Candace Cameron. I'm not one of those people who's like into following celebrities and in the know of what's going on in Hollywood. Like, that's not me at all. Like, I'm on social media, but I don't follow like celebrities. I don't follow people that I don't know. Lisa is our connection to what's going on in the world and what's going on in Hollywood. And she's like, oh yeah, she's like, she's awesome. She's a Christian. And get this, Lisa's telling me this. She's like, she goes on social media and she opens up the Bible, and then she reads a little bit of the Bible, and then she talks about what it means. And I looked at Lisa, I'm like, you mean she does the exact same thing that I do for a living? Like, wow, how awesome is Candace Cameron? Like, wow, I'm so, like, listen, So I milked that for all it's worth for like 2 weeks. Like I was just like, oh yeah, you don't believe in what I do. You don't listen. Like anyways, it was hilarious. But Lisa and I, we love doing that. We love like poking fun at each other. We just have, honestly, we have the best life. We really do. We're best friends. We love doing everything together. We just love doing life together. And I think honestly, the only time there's ever really tension in our relationship is when we travel together. Not because we don't like traveling together. We love traveling together. We love going different places and seeing and doing different things. We love traveling together. But the reason there's tension is because in every relationship, there's always someone who is directionally challenged. Did you know that? Like if you're married, if you're dating right now, my guess is at least one of you in the relationship is directionally challenged. And don't raise your hand if it's your spouse, just keep looking straight at me, don't out them. But it's just true of relationships. And maybe that's you, maybe you're not dating, maybe you're single, but you are directionally challenged, meaning you just don't have a good sense of direction. That's just not you. If you didn't have your phone, if you didn't have the Maps app, you didn't have Google Maps, like you would not survive, right? It's like all of us have been in that place. We're just not sure where we're going. We don't have good coordination, like we go out, maybe hiking or something. We're like, I don't really know where I started. I don't know how to get back. That's true of all of us. And I won't tell you really quickly, I won't tell you who is challenged that way in our relationship, but I assure you, it's not me, okay? I assure you, it's not me. And whether it's our fault, whether it's our significant other's fault, I think for most of us, if not all of us, my guess is we've all been lost at some point in life, right? We've all been lost at some point in life. Maybe it was your first time in a new city. Maybe you were headed downtown to an appointment and you'd never been to the building. You'd never been where this place is. Maybe it's your first time on campus. Like all of us at some point in our lives have probably been lost. And the strange thing about being lost is there's a difference between being lost and getting lost. You know what I mean? And what I mean is generally speaking, we don't know when we're getting lost. Isn't that true? We don't know when we're getting lost. We just know when we're lost. I mean, there's that uncertain, anxious feeling we all feel from time to time, but it's not as if once I feel that, it's like if I just take 2 steps backwards, I won't feel that way anymore. I'm not lost anymore, right? By the time that anxious, uncertain feeling wells up inside of us, we're lost and we know it. And even men are able to come to that conclusion eventually. Right? And the strange thing about being lost, to take it a little bit further, is that being lost always begins with 2 things. Every single time, getting lost, being lost, it always begins with 2 things. And men, we will act like we have both, even when we clearly don't, right? This is what happens. It begins with assurance and confidence, right? Getting lost, being lost begins with assurance and confidence. Assurance that we know where we are, and confidence that we know how to get where it is we want to go. Getting lost, being lost always begins with these 2 things. And then from there, not just for the men, but for all of us, there are a number of different things that contribute to us getting lost. It could be inaccurate directions, right? Inaccurate directions. We've all found ourselves, maybe not so much today, it's a little harder today, but back in the day, for those of us that don't remember, the digital, social media age and text messages and apps and all those things, it used to be someone would give you directions to their house or tell you directions, maybe over the phone, and they'd tell you left here, and they would say, or maybe even right, like take a left, but they meant right, but they got it wrong. Or even today, like maybe somebody will text you an address or text you directions, and maybe they get something wrong, and then you type the address in your phone and it takes you somewhere else completely, and you're calling them like, where am I? I don't even know where I am. Like maybe that happens to you, inaccurate directions. The other one that happens is unintentional wrong turns on our part. And this happens, again, this used to be a lot easier for it to happen, but it still happens today. Maybe you're following a GPS, you're following the maps on your phone, and it says stay right. But as you're looking at the map, it's kind of confusing because there's 2 lanes you could be in, and one kind of starts to veer right and one goes straight and it says stay right. And do I turn right? I don't know. And sometimes we just make unintentional wrong turns. And then the other thing is unavoidable distractions. Right? And this can happen to us. Maybe you've got a baby that's crying in the back seat, or maybe you have multiple kids in the back seat that are fighting, and you do the kind of the arm of God thing where you put your arm behind the car and you're like, you two don't stay. And all of a sudden, you're paying attention to them and you're trying to deal with them, and then all of a sudden you get distracted, or you see something or someone and it just distracts you. Next thing you know, you're not where you thought you were, and you're all confused, and where do I go and where do I turn? I mean, there's just so many different things. And this can happen. It's one of these 3, a combination of all these 3, or something else entirely, but it always ends up with this sudden realization we've all experienced. I don't know where I am. I don't know how I got here. And I don't know how to get back on track. And this is true not just when we're driving. This is true not just, in traveling or geography. This is true in life. And the truth is you can get lost in just about every or any arena of life. This is true. You can get lost in just about any arena of life very quickly, very easily. You can get lost morally. Maybe you find yourself there today and you don't know how you got where you are. Maybe you approach the whole subject of sex with confidence that you knew what was right and what was wrong, and now you're down the road a little ways and you're lost. You're not where you thought you would be. You're not where you hoped you'd be. You're not where you planned you would be. That you're not sure how you got into the mess that you're in, the relationship that you're in. It started with assurance and confidence, and now it's a disaster. And I talk to people who find themselves in that place time and time and time again, and when they talk to me, there's a guilt that comes with that. And the reason that they come and they talk to me isn't because they need help figuring out whether they're lost. They know they're lost now. Why they want to talk is because they can't get away or they can't escape the guilt. The guilt just won't go away. And if you're anything like the people that I talk to, you wonder if you're ever going to be able to get away from the guilt, if you're ever going to be able to move on. You can so quickly and easily get lost in just about every arena of life. You can get lost professionally, right? Maybe you chose a major with confidence. You were certain that this was it for you. You went left because it felt right. And you interviewed with high expectations. You got the job, and now all these months or all these years later, the job isn't what you expected, and you're not where you thought you would be, and you don't know how to get back on track. It felt right then, but you realize today it wasn't right at all. All of us, maybe you're there right now, we can quickly and easily get lost in just about every arena of life, whether it's relationally, ethically, academically, physically, spiritually. You get to the point where you look at yourself in the mirror and you think, where's the guy that I used to know? Where's that girl that I used to know? How did I get here? There's so much of me in the wrong places. I don't know what it is for you, but all of us have been and maybe are lost so quickly and easily in so many different arenas of life. And the strange and tragic thing is when we find ourselves lost, you know what we usually do? This is true of the people I talk to. When we find ourselves lost, what we usually do is speed up. For some reason, rather than slowing down, for some reason when we get lost, and what men do is this too, when we get lost, before we speed up, we turn down the radio. Ladies, if you ever want to know if your man doesn't know where he's going, if he turns down the radio, you're in trouble. I don't know why we do that. It's just something we do. But you turn down the radio, I don't know, and see, we speed up. That before we realize where we know we are, we don't know how we got lost. We don't know when we got lost. We don't know what went down. And even when we realize that there's this thing in us, in a sense, it's almost as if we double down. We just keep going. We just put our head down. We put our pedal, down, and we just keep going. We just speed up instead of doing what we know we actually should be doing when we're lost, which is what? The best thing a lost person can do is stop and ask for directions. That's the best thing a lost person can do, but it's usually the last thing a lost person does, right? Why? Because it's not easy. The reason we don't stop and ask for directions isn't because we don't know we're lost. It's because it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to stop and talk to people you don't know and to tell them you don't know where you are. You don't know how you got here, and you don't know what to do about it. And I'm not just talking about driving, not just talking about traveling. I'm talking about in life. Pulling up and talking to somebody and saying, I'm lost. I don't know how I got here. This isn't where I want to be, and I have no idea what to do. It's embarrassing to do that. It requires a level of vulnerability and humility and courage that very few of us can muster up. So instead, for some reason, we just double down and we speed up and we keep going. All of us, regardless of what you do and don't believe, regardless of your education, we can so quickly and easily get lost in so many different realms and arenas of life. And the thing that we need to do the most when we find ourselves in those situations is stop and ask for help. Stop and ask for directions. And so what I want to do today, what I want to do throughout this series, while there are so many different arenas of life we can get lost in, I want to focus in on one specifically. And while I understand there are so many reasons why we don't stop and ask for directions, whether it's embarrassing, whether we're not willing to be that vulnerable, what I want to do is I want to beat you to the ask. I want to take this time that we have together over the next few weeks, and I want to use this intentionally to give all of us an opportunity to just stop for a few minutes, and I want to offer you some directions as it relates to personal finances. If statistics are to be believed, over half of Canadians are lost financially. Can you believe that? Over half of Canadians are lost financially. They don't know where they are. They don't know how they got where they are. They don't know how to get back on track to get where they need to be, where they ought to be. They have no clue. What they agree on is that they're not where they thought they would be. For one reason or another, they went left financially because it felt right, and now they're living with this realization, I'm lost. I don't know how I got here, and I don't know how to get back on track. They're confused. They're frustrated, they're fearful, they're lost, they're upside down in debt, lost without hope, having no clue how to get back on track or even if it's possible to get back on track. And so rather than stopping and asking for directions, instead they speed up. They speed up, they take out another line of credit to offset or reduce this payment over here, not realizing that in doing so, they're actually taking themselves further and further away from where they actually want to be. It can happen quickly and easily. And the odd thing the strange thing is when you stop and think about it, finances is the one area or the one arena of life where there should be no mystery. Isn't that funny? Like finances is the one arena of life where there should be no mystery because you know how much comes in and you're the one who tells it where to go. There should be no mystery when it comes to finances. And yet statistics say that over half of Canadians are lost financially. They have no clue where they are, how they got where they are. And my experience would echo and affirm those statistics. As a pastor, I don't understand it, but I get invited into the inside track of so many different people's lives. They come to me at times of desperation, times where they're lost, times where they're confused, times where they're full of fear and they lack hope. And they come to me almost as if a last resort. They probably had a number of better people to talk to, but they didn't talk to them or whatever. And they're like, maybe Scott will talk to us. And so they come in and they talk to me and they pour out their hearts, right? They're sharing these things with me. And over half of the pastoral counseling sessions I do, over 50% of the pastoral counseling sessions that I do are focused around finances. Over half of Canadians, over half of us in this room, half who are watching from home are lost financially. No clue how I got here, no clue how I'm gonna get past this, no clue what to do. It can happen so quickly and so easily where you get to that place where you took a left financially because it felt right, because it looked right, and now you're lost. You don't know what to do, where to go, or how to move forward. That's lost. And I know what you're thinking. How do you know though? Like maybe I'm not lost, but I'm kind of like in between. Like how do you know if you're lost financially? And this is going to sound a little bit like Jeff Foxworthy, like you might be a redneck if, like, but I just got to, just to kind of lighten the mood a little bit because it's getting a little quiet, a little tense in here. So I just thought, hey, let's just lighten the mood. Let's rip the Band-Aid off. Here's how you know if you're lost financially. If you spend more money than you make in a year, you're lost financially. If you don't know whether or not you spend more in a year than you make, you're lost financially, okay? And here's why, because that was never your plan, was it? You never set out in your career going, man, I'm gonna live the rest of my life having no clue what I'm doing financially. That's how I'm gonna live my life. Like, yeah, like nobody does that. But many of us, that's how we're living, isn't it? We have no idea where we are and we have no clue. I would suggest you're lost financially if you owe more in your car than it's worth. You could be from the East Coast too, that's possible, but, and if that hits too close to home, I'm from there, so believe me, I understand it. But you could be lost if you don't know how much you owe on your car and you don't care. I'd suggest you're lost financially if paying the minimum payment on your credit card is a way of life. You could be lost financially if you think that paying the minimum payment on your credit card is good financial planning. You could be lost financially. I'd suggest you're lost financially if you have financial dreams and have no plan. I'd also suggest you're lost financially if you don't have a way of tracking where your money goes. I think you're lost financially if the only money you're saving is the money that's coming out of your paycheck automatically. I'd suggest you're lost financially if you're not sure if you're saving enough. I'm sure you're lost financially right now if you're sweating, right? I am too. I'd suggest you're lost financially if you're making financial decisions that you hope your spouse never discovers. And you kind of smirk at that, but believe me, I've had those conversations with couples more than you'd think. I'd suggest you're lost financially if you make over $75,000 a year and you're still feeling financial pressure. I'd suggest you're lost financially if you're making financial decisions you hope CRA never discovers, right? I mean, we can kind of make fun of it a little bit, trying to lighten the mood a little bit, but the truth is, I know for some of you right now, you're already checking out. You're already looking at your watch, you're already feeling the pressure, you're already feeling the sting, and you're thinking, that's it, I knew it. Church always finds a way to talk about money. Can't escape it. I knew it was coming. Eventually, the Solomon thing, Dr. Seuss was kind of fun for a few weeks, but I knew it was coming, the money thing was coming, and I'm out. Right? I'm out. And so it's this kind of thing like, Scott, I'm not coming back for the next few weeks. When the next series starts or when Chris or Jeremy are talking again, then I'll come back. But I'm out for right now. I'm done. I'm not coming back. Or when the next series starts, maybe I'll be back. Scott, when you start talking about something I'm interested in, then I'll be back. Or when you start talking about something religious instead of something practical, personal, and topical, then I'll come. Listen, I know, believe me, if you're tense right now, try being me. This is not a fun thing to talk about. I don't want to be another addition to the stereotype of the church always finds a way to manipulate. Listen, that's not what this is, but I understand that it's real. And if you are already feeling that tension, if you are already feeling that thing welling up inside of you, that walls are going up, I get it. Believe me, I get it. But I'm going to ask you just for a few moments to humor me for just a few moments and give me the opportunity to explain why I believe this series is so important and why I believe that this series is so important for you. This series is not about debt. This series is not about the church getting your money. This series really isn't even about money. This series is about you. This series is about me. This series is about our heart. And my heart's desire is that all of us would be able to see what I believe Jesus clearly wants us to see, and that is this. You can't follow Jesus and remain lost financially. You cannot follow Jesus and remain lost financially. Despite what many of us would like to believe, you cannot separate faith and finances. You can't do it. You can't follow Jesus and remain lost financially. And being lost financially isn't just an issue of debt. You may have more money than most, but that doesn't necessarily mean you aren't lost financially. You can go left financially because it feels right, because it looked right, because that's what successful financial people suggest, what financial advisors advise, and that may equate to, profit and benefit to your bottom line, but again, that doesn't mean you aren't lost financially. So if you're well off, this series is just as much for you as it is for me and the other people who are upside down in debt, right? This series is just as much for you. Whether you have lots, whether you have little, you can't follow Jesus and remain lost financially. And I say that because of something Jesus said. As you probably know, Jesus performed many, 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 many miracles. He fed and healed so many people that word of who he was and what he was able to do, it spread like wildfire all across Syria. And people were following Jesus from Galilee, Decapolis, Jerusalem, Judea. They were all following Jesus along the Jordan River, trying to get a piece of him, trying to get a little bit of what he was doing and what he was able to do in their lives. And one day he was speaking, he was teaching, and the crowd that gathered around him was so large, it was so huge, this crowd, that Jesus went up onto the side of a mountain to speak so that he could be seen and he could be heard. And what he shared, what he taught in that moment is known and referred to as the Sermon on the Mount. And in this iconic message, Jesus talked about a wide range of subjects. He talked about fulfilling the law. He talked about murder, divorce, loving your enemies, worry. I mean, he talked about a whole bunch of different things. And in the middle of this incredible message, Jesus speaks to the issue of personal finances. And this is what he said. He said, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. That if you want to know where your heart truly is, not where you say it is, not where you'd like to believe that it is, if you want to know where your heart truly is, Jesus said, follow the money. And the reason that I say you can't follow Jesus and remain lost financially is because Jesus does not have total access to your heart until he has total access to your treasure. And I'm not talking about giving it all away. That would be irresponsible, right? I'm talking about an issue of trust. What is your trust placed in? Better yet, who? Who is your trust placed in? Financial advisors or your heavenly Father? And when the two don't agree, who do you trust? Whose word do you follow? Throughout January and February, we did a series called Words to Live By, and in that series, we looked at the writings of Solomon. Solomon was around 17 or 18 years old when he asked God for wisdom. And God said, because of this request, God said, I'm going to make you the wisest man who has ever or will ever live. And that's exactly what God did. That's exactly who Solomon was. And in this God-given wisdom and insight, Solomon talked and wrote about a whole bunch of different subjects that are important to our lives. And he talked a lot about finances. And this is one of the things that he said in this God-given wisdom. He said, the rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. That before Jesus spoke about our hearts, Solomon spoke to the heart of the issue. And he essentially said, you can't be a servant to the bank and serve God. You're only going to have one master. And when it comes to finances, the bank is going to win. What Solomon and Jesus were talking about is this practical reality most of us, if not all of us, have experienced. That because we went left financially, because it felt right, because it looked right, because the advice sounded right, because we went left financially, now we find ourselves in a position where we're not doing or can't do what's right financially. We're enslaved. We're trapped. We're lost. We don't know what to do. We don't know where to go or how to get back on track. We're not able to do the things that we want to do. We're enslaved. We find ourselves, maybe generous in our hearts, but we're not generous with our accounts because we're lost. You can't be generous to the people that you love and know and care about because you owe too much money to people you don't know and who don't care about you. And if you're lost financially, if you're anything like the people that I talk to, if you're like where I've been at certain points in my life, if you're lost financially, if you went left because, you'd been given a bad map, because you took some wrong turns, because you took some shortcuts, because you got distracted, if you've gone left because it felt right financially, my hope is that through this series, it will be the beginning of you getting back on the right track. And the first step to getting back on the right track is knowing and understanding that the Bible teaches that everything belongs to God. That contrary to the world's opinion, you and we are not our own. You are not your own. Your life is not your own. Your time is not your own. Your body is not your own. Your treasure is not your own. Everything belongs to God. We have two books in the Old Testament called 1st and 2nd Chronicles. As their name suggests, these books chronicle historical events in the order in which they happened. Now, we don't know who wrote these books. Many scholars believe it was a man named Ezra. We're not certain who wrote them, but what we are certain of as we read them is how God interacts and intersects with his people. And in that understanding, in that just perspective, the author of 1st Chronicles writes these words, yours, O Lord, is the greatness and the power and the glory and the majesty and the splendor. And all the teachers said that's a run-on sentence. But the point is, yours, O Lord, is the greatness and the power and the glory and majesty and the splendor for everything. For everything in heaven and earth is, no. Yours, O Lord, is the kingdom. You are exalted as head over all. The author of 1st Chronicles was saying something we have a difficult time believing and accepting, and that is that everything belongs to God, meaning everything that we have in our possession is not ours. It belongs to God. Implication being you and we are managers and stewards of what belongs to God. And if you are a parent, you understand this dynamic more than most. A couple years ago, I bought an iPad. I was thinking, it'd be cool to have an iPad around the house. I do check some emails and, watch YouTube, Netflix, and do all those kind of fun things. And I thought that at the time, and now my iPhone's as big as the iPad that I bought. But the point is, I bought it thinking that it would be a useful thing to have around the house. And as it turns out, that iPad actually is very useful, just not for the things that I thought it was. We have found a use for the iPad that we did not know existed until we bought it and had a son. The iPad is an incredible digital babysitter. It's unbelievable. This device, I can take it and place it in the hands of my 3-4-year-old son, and I can drink coffee and talk to my wife in quiet for as long as I seem to. It's unbelievable. But an interesting dynamic has happened with this iPad over the years. Parker's 4 now, and for the last couple of years, especially during the pandemic, we probably used the digital babysitter more than we should. And at some point along the way, I don't know when it happened, but Parker has gotten it in his mind that this iPad belongs to him. He says it. He'll say, Mom, can you get my iPad? Dad, can you charge my iPad? The other day I was sitting on the couch and I picked up the iPad and I went to do something and Parker said, that's mine. And he took it and he walked. I'm like, you strange, misguided child. The iPad is mine. I bought it. I purchased it with my own money. It belongs to me. I've simply allowed you to use it. I've simply allowed you to watch your games and to play your videos and do all those things, but it belongs to me. In a similar way, everything that you and I, everything that we have is not ours. It belongs to God, and we are stewards and managers of what has been entrusted and gifted to us to use and to have and to enjoy. And when we fail to make that connection, we live our lives with a disconnect. There's a disconnect between what we say we believe about God and who God is and how we're actually living our lives. And we can't continue to live with that disconnect any longer. You cannot, I cannot, we cannot follow Jesus and remain lost financially. You can follow Jesus and be lost financially, but you can't follow Jesus and remain lost financially. He just said too much about it. So the bottom line is, for today and for this series, and we're going to continue to talk about this for the next few weeks, at the end of the day, how you handle money is a spiritual issue. Jesus talked more about money than heaven and hell combined. The majority of his parables are focused around finances. And the thing that I love about Jesus, or at least one of the things that I love about Jesus, as you read the Gospels, the 4 books in the New Testament that chronicle his life, and as you read the Gospels, the amazing thing is Jesus never asked for money. Never. Not once. Never. His goal was never to get it. It was always to keep it from getting us. So, here's what I need you to know and understand as we launch into this series. I'm not Jesus. I'm not Jesus. But like Jesus, I don't want anything from you. As hard as that is for many of you to believe, you're in church and somehow he's finding a way to talk about that. Listen, I'm not going to deny the fact that your generosity pays my bills. That's the reality of my life. Were it not for you, were it not for your heart, were it not for your faithfulness and for your generosity, I would be out of a job. I thank you from the bottom of my heart, but this isn't about that. And I need you to understand that because I know how easily it is for walls to go up. And so I'm not going to diminish or deny the practical reality of what you do for me and for others and for the life of this church. I'm so thankful for you. But this isn't about that. This is about you. And this is about me. And this is about our heart. Like Jesus, I really don't want anything from you. I want everything for you. To be more specific, I have 5 things that I want for you, and I want to share them with you as we close down our time together. And my hope is that you, as you hear my heart, you will open up yours, and you'll come with me on this journey through this series. 5 things I want for you. Number 1 is I want you to trust God with your life. I want you to trust God with your life, with every aspect of your life. That's my heart. That's my prayer. In fact, that's our mission as a church, is to lead you and people of all ages into a growing relationship with Jesus. And as we walk with him, as we deepen in relationship with Jesus, he calls us, he causes us to surrender every aspect of our lives to him and to get to the place where we trust him in and with all things. And for many of us, if not all of us, our finances are the last thing we give and surrender because it's the thing we think we have the most control over. That's what we think, and it causes us to go left because it feels right. And in the end, our finances actually end up controlling us more than anything else in our lives. But I'm hoping and praying that as we journey together through this series and beyond, that all of us begin to trust him more and more with every area of our lives. I want you to trust him with all of your life. And I want you to experience God's faithfulness. I want you to experience what I've experienced in my life. I want you to experience God's faithfulness financially. And that begins when you invite him into this personal, practical area of your life. I can't tell you how many times God has shown himself faithful to me financially. He has proved himself time and time. He's proved himself over and over and over again. Years ago, when I first moved to Ottawa, everything that I owned was in 2 duffel bags. I was rebuilding my life. I had almost nothing. And I moved to Ottawa and I started rebuilding my life, and Lisa and I began building a life together. And from the moment we got together and we had very little, and over the years as we've grown together and journeyed together, there have been so many times in our lives where we're like, it doesn't add up on paper. I don't know how this is gonna work out. I'm overwhelmed, this is stressful, and yet I know what God's design and desire is for us financially. I know we're at a crossroads and we're either gonna go left or we're gonna go right, and left feels right, but we're gonna go right, and our response is gonna be yes. We're gonna be obedient to what you've called us to do. And I'm telling you, time after time after time, right on time, God has shown himself so faithful to us. And my hope and prayer is that you would experience that same faithfulness of God in your life. I want that for you. And I want you to be free. I want you to be free. Free. I want you to be free. I want you to be free. I want you to be able to go on vacation and not need a vacation after your vacation because you don't know how you're going to pay for the vacation you just took. And you're more stressed out when you come back than you were when you left. But I know how many do it. Is that what you're doing? That's not free. That's lost. I want you to be free. I want you to enjoy Christmas morning instead of dreading the mail call in January. I want you to be free, but more than that, I want you to be free to do what God calls you to do, to go where God calls you to go, to give what God calls you to give, and you can't do that as long as you're overextended financially or as long as your heart is wrapped up in what you mistakenly believe is yours. I want you to be free, and I want you to be secure. There's an R word out there these days. Maybe you've heard it. The word recession is the buzzword, and everybody's talking about it. It's in our social media feed, or at least so Lisa tells me. It's on the news. I mean, it's everywhere. Recession, recession, recession. And that word, it wells up fear and anxiety and nervousness, and everybody's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. When we cling even tighter, and in the midst of all that noise, I want you to be secure. I want you to be secure financially. And that begins when you eliminate dumb debt, when you save, and when you have a plan. I want you to be secure. And then lastly, I want you to be content. I want you to be content. And part of our discontentment stems from this unquenchable thirst we all have for more. And at the end of the day, that is an issue of the heart, not an issue of what we have. And we're going to talk about that in this series. But between now and then, here's the thing. Being lost financially is not an issue of debt. It's an issue of the heart. Being lost financially is not an issue of debt. It's an issue of the heart. It's not what's in the account, no matter how much or how little in the account is not the issue. What's in our heart is. And Jesus said, if you really want to know what's in your heart, if you really want to know where your heart is, follow the money. So in this series, we're going to talk about a lot of practical issues of the heart. We're going to talk a lot about money, but believe me and hear me, this series is not about money. This series is about our hearts and Jesus' desire to have and capture our hearts as we follow him. That's what this series is about. And what we're going to discover in this series is that the opposite of being lost is not being found. The opposite of being lost is not being found. It's realizing where you are and having a plan to get to where God wants you to be and where you want to go. I mentioned Solomon a few moments ago. Solomon in his God-given wisdom said this in the book of Proverbs, again, talking about finances and God-given wisdom. He said this, the plans of the diligent lead to profit as surely as haste leads to poverty. The new SL translation, the new Scott Landry translation of this verse is this: have you ever made a hasty financial decision and regretted it? You're not, okay, the four of us that raised up our hands, we're gonna gather after the service and we're gonna pray for all the liars in the room, right? We have probably all made hasty financial decisions and regretted it. We need a plan. And so what we're gonna do in this series, is we're gonna stop long enough to get a good map and to develop a plan. And what I'm gonna challenge you to do today and for the rest of this series is simple, but I'm gonna challenge you to do it. I'm gonna challenge you to take a step that I believe you will never regret. It's the first step to experiencing financial freedom. It's the first step to get from where you are to where you desire to be. On March 25th, we're gonna host a financial learning experience. We refer to it lovingly as the FLE, but we're gonna have this in person Saturday, March 25th. And in this financial learning experience, we've done it before and we're thankful we're able to do it again. But in this financial learning experience, we're gonna give you a whole bunch of practical, biblical tools to help you get free and experience freedom financially. But ultimately, all the practical tools are really symptomatic, but we're gonna really deal with the issue of the heart, which is the real issue financially. But you're gonna get a lot of practical tools. You're gonna have the opportunity to learn how to track where your money is going. You gotta follow the money. You gotta know where your money's going. And we're gonna give you some tools and some tips and some training as to know how to know where the money is going. And then from there, we're gonna teach you and guide you and learn how to build and create a spending plan. Not like, oh, I made a budget. No. We're gonna teach you you're gonna have a plan, a spending plan that's realistic, and it's about your real life, and you're gonna learn how to do that, and then from there, we're gonna help you learn how to get out of the debt that's enslaving you. You are gonna get a ton of practical tips. Imagine how different your life would be today if you had gotten this information years ago. Well, we're for you, and we wanna give you this information to help you get from where you are. And I get it. It's like, oh, but if I go to that thing, everybody's gonna think that I'm, this and I'm that, and I'm broke, and I got all these problems. Like, no, you know what you're gonna find out? You're gonna find yourself in a room with a whole bunch of people that wanna get somewhere different than where they are today. And that should be encouraging rather than deflating. You're not alone. So let's stop pretending. We're gonna get in a room, we're gonna get some plans, we're gonna get some tips, we're gonna get some coaching, some training, we're gonna move forward together, and that's awesome. I'm praying that you'll have the courage to do that. I know I'm gonna be there. I need to be there. And I hope that you'll be there too. You're gonna get a whole lot of practical tips. More than that, more than the practical stuff, we're gonna deal with the issue, the financial issue of our heart, addressing the issue that's really, really the most important thing, this thing in our heart, because that is what we move forward with as we follow Jesus. This is a free 2-hour experience. All you got to do to register is go to bridgechurches.ca/top3 or scan the QR codes that are all over the building. If you do that with your kid's iPad, you can do that and you can register. It's free. There is limited space available. I'm hoping we're actually going to have to find a way to do more of these. I'm really excited that we're going to offer this for our high school students on a separate occasion, because I know if you're anything like me, if I got this information in high school and I'd actually done something with it, yeah, some of you. But imagine if you had gotten this in high school, how different your life would be. And I look around and I see these high school students in the room like, we are for you, we believe in you, and we don't want you to make the mistakes that we made. We want to see you move forward. We want you to be free, secure, but I want that for you too. So regardless of age and stage, I hope that you'll do this. We've all gone left financially because it felt right. But it's time to get back on the right track. And I'm hoping that you'll come along with me on this journey as we figure out how to do that. Hope you'll be back. Let me pray for you. Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for the opportunity to gather today, the opportunity to talk about real life. And I know that for many, there are already walls going up. There are plans being made for the next few weeks. I'm not going to church. I don't want to hear about that. I don't want to talk about it. God, I know that you know about that. And so, Father, I pray that you'd help every single one of us to be reminded that you don't need or want anything from us, that you are our heavenly Father and you want everything for us. You are for us and you desire for us to experience life. You said that you want us to have life and have it to the full. You want us to have it in abundance. And I pray, Father, that you'd help us as a community to be encouraging and have courage to move forward and deal with the real issues in our lives instead of coming to a service and faking it every week. Help us to move forward and journey together in spirit and in truth. I pray, Father, your blessing upon each one who's here, every single person who's online with us from home or wherever they may be. God, I pray that you would show yourself to each family and be a part of each story that's written. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. I want to thank you for being with us today. I'm going to invite you to come back next week for part 2. But between now and then, have fun trying to get out of the parking lot today and have fun trying to get through Canadian Tire and all the obstacles that are there. Basically, think of it like Mario Kart today. So have fun with that. We'll see you back here next week. God bless.